Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive. We're going to be taking a look at Four Laws of Productivity by Mensa Otabil. The source material is actually rooted in a biblical passage, but our goal today is to kind of like tee out any universal wisdom or guidance that we can apply to various areas of life. Could be person development, could be business, could even be global impact. Ready to dive in.
It's pretty amazing how these laws rooted in ancient wisdom still hold relevance in our modern world.
The first law is be fruitful. And at first glance, that might sound pretty straightforward, but when you think about it, it encourages us to go deeper than just the traditional idea of having children, right?
Exactly. Otabil is pushing us to broaden our thinking to nurturing every aspect of our lives. He even uses this cool term, seed gifts, suggesting that we all possess inherent talents and abilities given to us by a higher power.
That's a fascinating concept. It suggests that these seed gifts aren't skills we acquire over time, but like potentials already within us, just waiting to be unlocked.
Precisely. And these gifts don't have to be something super extraordinary or grandiose. Even the most ordinary skills can turn into something remarkable if we cultivate them. The book gives a great example of this with the story of Teti Kwarshi.
Oh, right, the freed slave who brought cocoa seeds to Ghana and ended up transforming its economy. It really highlights how we should be on the lookout for potential, even in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. It makes us think about our own lives, right? What seed gifts are we overlooking? What seemingly small talents or interests could lead to a fulfilling life or even, a significant contribution to the world?
Makes me think about all those times we dismiss our passions or quirks as unimportant. Maybe that unusual interest in stamp collecting or that weird ability to remember useless trivia could be a seed gift just waiting to be nurtured.
Exactly. The takeaway here is to pay attention to our natural inclinations, those activities that effortlessly pull us and the ones we lose ourselves in. Those might be holding the seeds of something truly special.
It challenges us to change our perspective. Instead of dwelling on what we lack, maybe we should appreciate the unique potential that's already within us.
And once we've recognized these seed gifts, the next law comes into play, multiply. This is all about expanding and excelling with the fruits of these inherent talents.
So it's not just about possessing these gifts, but actively cultivating them and amplifying their impact.
Precisely, Otabil contrasts this with the risk of stagnation. He uses the example of a yukgari seller who stayed the same for 20 years, never growing her business or exploring new avenues.
A real reminder of how complacency can hold us back. Otabil also makes this interesting connection to his own work preaching. He says that a sermon's influence is limited to its immediate audience, unless it's recorded or published reaching a wider audience.
What a great analogy. It emphasizes how important it is to find ways to scale our efforts, whether that's through mentorship technology collaboration or innovative approaches.
So whether we're creating something leading a team or just sharing an idea, we need to think about how we can multiply our efforts for greater impact.
Absolutely. This law encourages us to think outside the box, to embrace the possibility of exponential growth with our seed gifts.
That leads us to the third principle, replenish. This one elevates the discussion beyond personal gain and prompts us to think about our contribution to the world. It's about using our amplified fruits to make a positive impact. Right.
You got it. This law focuses on the concept of working with a higher power, aligning our efforts with a larger purpose, and contributing to a bigger picture of positive change. He uses all sorts of professions to illustrate this, like think of a doctor curing a disease, a lawyer fighting for justice, an architect designing environmentally friendly buildings. Their individual efforts all become part of this larger tapestry of progress.
That's such a powerful image. Our individual efforts, when they're aligned with something bigger, can contribute to something much greater than ourselves.
Absolutely. But there's also the flip side, the potential for misuse. Otabil uses the example of a musician. The same talent that can inspire and uplift can also be used to spread negativity and division.
That's a sobering thought. It's a reminder that our actions have consequences, and it's up to us to make sure our gifts are used for good.
It forces us to ask ourselves, are our efforts making the world a better place? Or are we unintentionally causing harm?
It's a challenge to examine our motivations and make sure our actions are aligned with our values.
And this brings us to the fourth and maybe the most complex law, subdue the earth.
That sounds pretty intimidating. What does it actually mean?
Otabil's take on this is that it's about taking control of challenges and circumstances to create order and purpose in our lives. It's about overcoming obstacles, both external and internal, to live a more fulfilling life.
He links this to the idea of a divine economic system, where individuals work hard, use resources wisely, and cooperate with each other to achieve common goals.
But he also warns about the dangers of greed and putting money above everything else. Those things can lead to compromised values and ultimately destructive outcomes.
He uses that powerful story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who refused to bow down to a golden statue, even when they were under immense pressure.
It shows their unwavering commitment to their principles, even in the face of adversity.
Their story is a good reminder that real success isn't just about material wealth. It's about living a life that's true to our values.
Otabil also stresses the importance of subduing the flesh, conquering those negative urges, addictions, or laziness that get in our way.
He uses this vivid analogy of a leaky vessel.
If we don't take care of our vessel, our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, those treasures inside those seed gifts can be lost.
It really underlines how important self-discipline and control over our desires are to create an inner environment where we can grow and reach our full potential.
We've covered a lot of ground today. These 4 laws give us a framework not just for personal development, but for creating a more fulfilling and impactful life.
It's fascinating how these principles, even though they come from a religious perspective, can be interpreted and applied by anyone regardless of their beliefs. It's about self-discovery, continuous growth, and making a difference.
Exactly. It encourages us to think not just about our personal achievements, but also the legacy we leave behind. What impact do we want to make with our seed gifts?
Now that's a question to ponder, and that brings us to the heart of today's deep dive. We've explored these 4 laws, unpacked their meaning, and hopefully sparked some self-reflection along the way.
Before we wrap up, let's distill all this wisdom into 10 actionable takeaways for our listeners.
A 4 laws of productivity 10-point plan. I'm all for it.
Number 1, embrace what makes you unique. Recognize your own talents, skills, and passions. What gets you excited? Don't dismiss anything as unimportant. Even seemingly small abilities can blossom if you nurture them.
Number 2, find your seed gifts. These are the inborn qualities that have the potential to become something extraordinary. Look back on your life. What activities did you naturally gravitate towards as a child? What do you find yourself drawn to effortlessly? These could be clues to your unique seed gifts.
Number 3, don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has their own special set of seed gifts. Focus on developing your own potential instead of measuring yourself against someone else. Their path is not yours.
Number 4, multiply your impact. Once you've discovered your seed gifts, find ways to expand and amplify their reach. This could be through mentorship, collaboration, using technology, or finding innovative approaches.
Number 5, think bigger than yourself. Consider how your work contributes to a greater purpose. How can you use your talents and resources to make a positive difference in the world?
Number 6, check your motives. Are your actions lining up with your values? Are you contributing to something good, or are your efforts accidentally causing harm? It's important to step back and make sure your actions are in sync with your goals.
Number 7, overcome challenges. This means tackling obstacles, both the ones out there in the world and the ones within yourself, to create a richer, more meaningful life. Don't let circumstances control you. Take charge.
Number 8, master yourself. Conquer those negative urges, addictions, or habits that hold you back. Self-discipline and self-control are key for lasting success.
Number 9, be careful of greed. It's fine to want financial success, but don't let the pursuit of wealth compromise what you believe in. True prosperity is about more than just money and possessions.
And last but not least, number 10, remember where it all comes from. Recognize that your abilities and the opportunities you have come from something greater. Whether it's a divine being or the intricate web of life, cultivate humility, gratitude, and use your gifts wisely.
That's a pretty comprehensive roadmap for living a more purposeful and impactful life.
It's striking how these principles, although they have spiritual roots, can be applied by anyone no matter what they believe. It all comes down to self-discovery, constant growth, and making a real difference in the world.
Absolutely. Whether we view these laws through a spiritual lens or as a guide for personal and professional development, the core message remains the same. We all have unique gifts, and it's up to us to cultivate them, make them count, and use them to make the world a better place.
This has been a really enlightening deep dive, wouldn't you agree? We've discovered some deep insights, explored practical applications, and hopefully inspired our listeners to do some soul-searching.
Definitely. And as always, the real test is how our listeners use these principles in their own lives. What resonated with you? How can these laws influence your choices, your work, or even how you interact with others? We encourage you to think about these questions and discover how you can unleash your potential and make a lasting impact.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.